So this slide shows the external anatomy of the eye, and starting with the function of the structures surrounding the eye. We have the eyebrow, which is going to be useful for communication. It helps to protect the eye from glare, as well as collecting perspiration from getting into the eye. We also have the eyelids, right, above and below, which are going to help to block foreign objects. They prevent stimulation, so if you're out where it's really bright, you can you can squint to keep some of the light from coming into your eye. They also help to blink to moisten the eye and cover it with moisture. And they're covered by eyelashes, which function as guard hairs to help blink to keep foreign objects and bugs out of the eye. The conjunctiva is this inner lining of the eyelid, as well as this transparent layer over the eye itself. And the conjunctiva is going to cover the inner surface of the eyelid, and it's vascular, so it's going to provide nutrients and oxygen. Conjunctivitis is pink eye, so when this gets inflamed, you would have bloodshot red eyes. The lacrimal apparatus, so this is the lacrimal gland, which secretes tears, or that's your tear gland, and then your lacrimal sacs, which are your tear ducts, are going to allow for the secretion and reuptake of fluid. And then we have 6 extrinsic eye muscles. So in this image, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there is another lateral muscle on the other side of the eye. So these are controlled by the cranial nerves number 3, 4, and 6, and they're going to allow you to move the eye up and down and sideways to be able to look around without moving your head. The internal anatomy of the eye is separated into 3 main layers. So the outermost layer is the sclera. This is a white, kind of tough, fibrous layer on the outside of the eye that goes all the way around. We have the choroid. That's the second layer. It's brown in the back all the way up to the front, where it becomes this pink muscular structure. And the deepest layer we have is the retina, and that's here in yellow, which attaches all the way up here at the ora serrata, so this is where the retina attaches, and then it also attaches back here at the optic disc. So starting from the outside in, from on the sclera, we have this outermost scleral covering towards the back, and then towards the front of the eye, we have the cornea, which is this convex structure here. And then between the cornea and the next layer, we have an anterior chamber, which is filled with what's called an aqueous humor, which is a liquid. The choroid is the vascular layer. So all of this dark brown layer is full of veins and arteries, and those are going to help to provide nutrients and oxygen to the internal sclera layer. And then in the front of the eye, this is going to become the ciliary body, which is going to control the lens, and then the muscular iris up here. So my iris is the colorful portion of the eye. And then the opening in the iris here, where there's no iris, is the pupil, and this is where the light can come into the eye. These portions in the front are considered optic, which is going to mean that they're going to help to regulate the inflow of light into the eye. So the cornea helps to bend the eye. The pupil and the iris can help modulate how much light comes into the eye. The lens is also going to help to focus the light. So the lens can become shorter and fatter, or it can become longer and skinnier, depending on where you're focused, if you're focused far away or you're focused close up. And so these suspensory ligaments can help to pull on the lens to adjust the size of the lens and the shape. The innermost layer is the retina, and the retina is actually only attached at this ora serrata and the optic disc. So it's only pressed up against this because there is a large fluid in the center here called the vitreous body or the vitreous humor. and that fluid pushes the retina back up against the choroid. At the back of the retina, we have a large region, or we have a small region here called the macula lutea, and at the very center of it is the fovea centralis. And your eye is going to try to focus the light onto that spot because this is where we have the most nerve endings. So whatever you're actively focused at, looking at, is going to typically be coming right here so you can see it very clearly. And then we have to have a portion of the eye that actually leads back to the brain. So here we've got the optic nerve, and this portion right here is called the optic disc. And because it's the exit, it doesn't actually have any photoreceptors, and so that's typically called the blind spot. So we can see these neural components. This is the retina. So this would be a picture of the retina that your eye doctor would take when they flash that light in your eye. And so the retina is only attached at these two places, which means that it actually can detach. So if the pressure inside the eye is too low, or you have an injury to the eye, the retina can detach, and it's important that it gets reattached very quickly, usually through surgery, to make sure that it gets pressed up against its nutrient sources again. And the retina is actually an outgrowth of the diencephalon, so this is part of the brain. So this is one of our only sensory systems that's actually the brain. The macula lutea, again, is here, so you can see that right there, and then the fovea centralis is the center part. So this is where we direct the main focus of our vision to be right here so we can see it. It creates the most detailed images. And then this is the optic disc. You can see that all of these vessels and then all of the nerves are going to kind of exit here. And so because this area is the exit, we don't have any photoreceptors here. And so we can't actually perceive anything right here. And so what your brain does is it actually fills that spot in. So rather than looking around and seeing a hole in your vision, your brain will just fill it in with whatever information it's receiving from around that hole. So take a moment and reflect on the differences between the optic disc and the fovea centralis, and think about why we don't have blank spots in our vision even though we have a blind spot in our eye.